So our next guests are Mayor Charlie Clark and Cree Elder artist Joseph Naytowhow. I want to say good morning to both of you, and thanks for participating in our tribute to Indigenous languages. We've been talking to others who have been working towards their revitalization and strengthening of the Indigenous languages here in Saskatchewan. And we'd like to know more about the two art projects that involve the Cree Syllabics found around town by artists Tony Staller, Joseph Naytowhow, Kenneth T. Williams, and Joy Arcand. And perhaps we can start first with you, Mayor Clark. Charlie, if I could call you that.
Well, the Placemaker art program is something that I think has been really important in our city and has played a role over many years in being a way of showcasing public art and public and some of the artists in our community who produce that art. And so there's been many statues and monuments that we've seen for many years. And in recent years, particularly since the calls to action and the Truth and Reconciliation process, which was a big part of our community, and the discussions here, we identified we wanted to make sure that as we were looking at how we express ourselves and what kind of public art takes place in spaces here to talk about who we are, that incorporating Indigenous languages, Indigenous artists, and those demonstrations, those expressions that connect us to this land and to the long history of people being here and on this land in Treaty 6 territory and the traditional homeland of the Métis, just north of Round Prairie, where people have been walking for many generations. And so the first one was of the ones that you talked about was the Land of Berries, the syllabics that were put on the Ramey Modern Art Gallery right in and around River Landing area, which has been a new development area that has been a big part of as a gathering place in the community for a long time, and in development for a long time, and having those Cree Syllabics on the side of the building, as a statement, to me, I thought that was a wonderful piece that we got from Tony Stallard and the work with Joseph and Kenneth Williams and Joy Arcand as a way on a new art gallery that's one of the most significant buildings in our city that also has that piece of art. And then the River and Sky installation on Broadway was another one that I had a chance to be part of the launch and the discussion around the meaning of having those syllabics, in our oldest neighborhood right there on Broadway, which is a very busy part of our city. And I find it very powerful still to this day when I'm there, and especially at nighttime, and you see that Nipi Mina Sipi. And when Joseph explained at the launch of that, what that means and why, when you're very close to the river and in the big sky of Saskatchewan and in the middle of the buzzing life of a city, and then there's this statement, river and sky, to remind us of the place that we're in. When our sky is so beautiful so often, in sunrise and sunset, and the river is this lifeblood throughout our city. I hope for many people that they learn more what that means, why it's there, and how it can reconnect us to the land that we're on.
Yeah, I think it's appropriate, just considering the context of history in Saskatoon. The Métis used to call Saskatoon, prior to being called Saskatoon, Blanc de Flesh. They used to be buffalo hunters here in Saskatoon, and of course, our Cree brothers and sisters that lived at Wanuskewin for thousands of years, and it just does put a real statement to what Saskatoon is. And I agree with you. I feel so much pride when I see both of those Cree Syllabic signs on those buildings. It really does accentuate the diversity of Saskatoon. Joseph, maybe can you tell us about how you got involved with the Placemaker program and how you came to work with the other artists involved?
Greetings, everybody. It's
Uh-huh.
good to be a part of this. Thank you for inviting me, Robert. Yeah, I had a dream. I wish I could say that, you know. Perhaps Lori Blondo had a dream, you know. It's Lori Blondo is the one that got a hold of me. And I can't remember meeting Joy Arkamp. I know she does work with Syllabics. And Kenneth Williams was part of it also. So we got together and we were called and to meet with Tony. That's how I met Tony Stallard at that time. Lori called me. And sometimes you just wait around at the house, you know, and you're home and wait for a phone call, you know, and then the project begins and starts to come into, you know, being, you know. So that's how I got involved that way because of my background as a knowledge keeper and a language keeper as well. And I always check things through with linguists, you know, people who have the skills, you know, with syllabics. And at that time, I think we worked a little bit also with Gene, maybe Okamassis and Eric Wolvengray out of Regina. And I also checked with Leo Yayakut, who is a local Cree language expert here. And so, you know, make sure it's absolutely you know, accurate in its spelling. The word, we couldn't fit all in, you know, on that first one there. We couldn't fit that whole word in Saskatoon. Manatuka ski is what Saskatoon berry land, or that's what it translates to. So we could actually only put Saskatoon berry in that first side, you know. If you don't know, if you can't read, you know. Oh yeah, but it's accurate, you know. It's a check with the linguists, you know, the ones that know. So that's how I got involved. It's and it's still there. The involvement is still there with Tony Stallard, and primarily him and I are working together now. So since that time. Well, thank you for asking.
So, like, how long have those signs been there? Those Cree Syllabics?
Believe the one on the Ramey, the land of berries, must have been 2016 or 17, and then the River and Sky, Nipi Mina Sipi, I think must have been 20. I was mayor when that one was installed, and I think I was early on as mayor for the first one, but it must have been 2018. So maybe three years now. Do you think?
Yeah, I think so. That's about accurate. Yeah, and Gilles was part of that before he retired. Eh?
Yeah, we had Gilles.
Gilles involved.
A couple of other things that we've done that are important. You know, there's also the bus shelter art that we did a work with Senator Nora Cummings on the Clarence Avenue at Aidan Bowman Collegiate. There's a bus shelter that has been with input from the Métis, her sort of insights and her stories about the fact that she was living on the road allowance on South Clarence for many years as part of the Métis community before that became a neighborhood. And that was something that came to Gilles was a part of that too, and our transit staff in the city. And we thought, is there ways to even take things like bus shelters and turn them into public art that tell a story? And I thought that was important too, because so many people don't realize that those road allowances that are still in the city were actually part, you know, where many Métis people grew up, or the ancestors of people here grew up. And that's something that has been put in place as a permanent installation in the last few years as well.
So just getting back to the Cree Syllabic art program or the projects, maybe Joseph, you could maybe expand on how did you determine what you wanted to say and why, or did you elaborate on that already?
Oh, no, not yet. No, I'd like to just add, yeah, that a lot of things I framed from my ancestry, like I'm Woodland Cree, Plains Cree, and also Pictovus and half-breed, right? My mom's Métis, but she says she's half-breed as well. She maybe prefers that term. And I didn't know that until it was kind of accidental.
No, that's okay, absolutely.
I went to ask her to show me how to jig, to pass on the jigging steps, you know? And that's when I discovered one time when my dad and mom were talking, my dad made a derogatory comment. He says, "What do you know? You're just a Métis." And to me, it was information. It was not derogatory at all. You know, I thought, Métis, you know, it's information. So I didn't, for many years, I just kept that in the back of my mind. And then one day I went to jig with my mom. And as we were jigging, you know, she stopped, you know, she said she had a sprained ankle, but all of a sudden the crutches went flying, you know, and there she starts. She wasn't going to allow me to teach her to jig, right? She was going to do the jigging herself, you know, even with her sprained ankle. And so she danced for about 12 minutes. And then she said, "My ankle's not, you know, that sprained after all, you know." And then she went to the back of the room and brought a sash. And then she gave it to me. And then that's when I realized, oh, we're half-breeds, you know, mixed blood. And that affirmed it. So that's the place I come from when I get into these projects, you know. And syllabics was the original, like, written text, you know, from Stanley Mission area, you know, with Calling Badger, that story. That's where that syllabics came from. Some people think it came from this Anglican minister, but it didn't. You know, he took that language and used it for his, to translate the Bibles, you know, to do more conversion. But in our oral history, if you talk to West Finday, the story actually came through this medicine man way up north in Stanley Mission, around that area. So it's a very famous story. It's well known. And his father had gone to get that, what they say in Naytowhow, to go and get permission to take that story back home, you know, to their territory in Sweetgrass. So that's where that story came from. So that's why the syllabics, you know, and syllabics is actually quite a quick way to learn the language. If you know Neil MacLeod, you know, that's how he taught himself quickly how to speak it properly. It's based on these syllabics that are sound systems. Those are sound systems. And I was just having a meeting with Tony this morning, you know, just before we got together here about an hour and a half ago. I was talking to Tony and Alejandro. Yeah, that's how I say it, Romero. So there's more in the works, you know, as far as these placemakers. I just love the work that we're doing, you know, Charlie, Your Honor. It's a beautiful work, you know. It's like I see bicycle stands with the treaty medal and the Métis symbol of this cartwheel. I see that downtown. You just walk around and you just see it, you know. If you don't know your the Canadian history or the, you know, Métis or half-breed history in this country, you just walk downtown, you'll see it all, you know, and then it makes you think, it makes you stop to look. It's actually quite beautiful.
Joseph makes an important point to recognize that what's happened is relationship building that has led to, you know, more and more of an understanding. And our staff, like Alejandro Romero and Kathy Allen and Kevin Kitchen and Jim McDonald from Transit, and you know, I see people embracing and exploring, and we talked about Gilles before, and that's what makes this more promising to me, because when there's a network of people who believe in something and who want to work to make it happen, and it's through these, you know, real honest partnerships, you know, between the city and the First Nations community, the Métis community. Senator Cummings, as you know, I mentioned, that's where it makes it possible to do things in the right way and to see more of these happen and to have people become more comfortable with how to do it. And so lots of credit to those great people to run with this.
Well, brothers, I want to thank both of you for your stories and for making Indigenous languages a little more accessible in Saskatoon. The progress that our city has come to show the diversity is evident, and the city of Saskatoon is richer for us. So with that, I'll just say, Vistas, we'll see you at some other point, and thank you for participating today. God bless both of you.